a quick overview of what we'll cover today. There seems to be so many nuances to building topical authority. What I wanted to do is kind of show what topical authority is, and using outranking, give you a couple of case studies of outranking itself, where we have built this topical authority in some areas. And this data is for everyone to look at it. Like, we got nothing to hide. I'm going to use publicly available data, so you can see this yourself as well and see how it resonates and how you can rework this in your own strategy and build topical authority on pretty much any niche that you aim for. Obviously, you want to stay close to the product and services you're selling. So let's get started here. And I'll do a quick presentation, and then we'll look into the case studies and how you can do that in outranking. So a little bit about outranking. I'm not going to bore you with outranking. For anyone who wants to look at this, you can rewatch this presentation. But let's get right into topical authority. It means a website's perceived authority by a search engine on a specific topic. It implies that your website is complete source of information and a go-to place to get information about a specific topic. Now, how can you really achieve that? We're talking about covering as much ground as possible. In one core area, you're covering as much ground as possible. What does that really mean in terms of other websites? Like, are they not covering? Or how is Google looking at domain authority and all those other aspects before qualifying your site as a topical authority, right? Like, so out of this, when we started working on creating a case study around this on our own website, right? Like, what we wanted to see is, what is sort of the effect of all of these things into it? Our website was fairly new when we started this, and we're still only a year and a half into this, right? So both the niches that we chose, right, the sub niches that we chose on writing these things and building topical authority are sort of related, but created around the same time. So there is no parity in either of those data. Which told us that it's more about literally covering more grounds compared to the other websites than anything to do with your website's authority, or like how significantly old it was, how new it was, right? Like, since we tested this on a 6 or 8 month old domain, right? Like, this tells you pretty much everyone is in the similar boat who's trying to start a new website or build topical authority. When we talk about covering as much ground as possible, this means you are covering that particular topic a lot more than your competitors, right? So you're covering more keywords, you have more resources around that particular niche, and that is why Google is considering you as a topical authority. It takes some time for Google to read all the vitals on your website, and right, like, it can come into effect after a few months, but you will see incremental changes based on that. Now, what does topical strategy look like, right? Like, so this is a very classic thing that many of you might have seen on HubSpot, right? Where we have this cluster. Now, this big orange, pink, green, red, and yellow dots that you see in the center with black around it are those sub niches, right? And the example that we are going to look at for this presentation is maybe, let's say, pontoon boats. So we have a supplier who is selling pontoon boats, manufacturing pontoon boats. They manufacture speedboats, luxury boats, customized boats, and fly fishing boats, right? Those are the core areas that they cover in. Now, you can relate that into your e-commerce website or any of the other websites. So let me give you a second example. If it was outranking, our core areas would be SEO AI, everything that we do with SEO and AI. The second would be content brief. The third would be AI writing. Those are the three main areas, and there's many other areas that we cover. We can eventually start building out those small clusters as we go. Now, topical authority does not mean that you need all of these 5 clusters built out before you can qualify as a topical authority site. What I really mean is this: just take one example. This entire orange section that you see, if you have that built out and it is more extensive than anything Google can find on other websites, or how well that is covered on your website, is what will define how easy it is for you to rank for that entire cluster, as well as some of the peripheral clusters. So if the first one was, let's say, pontoon boat reviews, and we are covering reviews of all the other, other competitors, and the second one was pontoon speed boats, right? Like pontoon speed boats. Now they both have pontoon boat as an overlap. So ultimately, you're not only building authority in those smaller areas, making them easy to rank for, but you're also starting to add to the core pontoon boat, which means if you do this enough times, everything around pontoon boat will start ranking very easily as well, right? So you can break it down into smaller sections, or you can take it as a whole and consider this as the whole strategy, but nothing happens over time, and you have to build this over time. So all you need is to identify the core areas that you are going to be building authority around in, and then start working through it. Some of the benefits of Topical's authority, it's easier to outrank bigger websites. You can see that there are so many vendors that are selling pontoon boats on Amazon, on on other e-commerce websites, on Shopify build sites, and doing even drop shippings, which are smaller pontoon boats, right? So you can sense that the sites are very big, but do they have topical authority in those areas? That's difficult to say because everyone's trying to just sell something very similar. So they're not covering all the grounds. Whereas an example that we'll look at in this particular demo, you will see one site is consistently able to outrank some of those big guys, right? Like by just having an authority site around pontoon boats and keep writing information about that. So lesser affected by search algorithm updates. So let's consider you're writing product reviews, and I'm writing about pontoon boat product reviews, right? And I already have a topical authority in fly fishing pontoon boats, right? So now Google's already considered me topical authority in that area. If I keep writing about product related stuff and reviews related stuff, right, like alternatives related stuff, which gets heavily scrutinized in Google because that's where affiliates tends to make a lot of money, right? But even though then the sites are very less affected by any algorithm updates, right? Because you've just qualified it yourself by suggesting that, hey, not only I got quality, I got quantity, and I cover as much ground as possible compared to all the other guys. This is very quantitative way of judging whether you have covered all the areas or not. So keep that in mind. Whatever's quantitative is always considered as a factor when it comes down to topical authority. Lesser then help establish broader content strategy alignment, right? Because you're working through topical areas, small areas, your objectives are much more defined. You know what you're executing first, you know what you're executing second, and you know what you're executing third. All of that comes into picture as well. And then it keeps you focused on your objective, right? So that's the main objective. Like we want to execute on content calendar and seamlessly possible. So, everything should be objective driven. Okay, so let's look at steps to create content strategy for topical authority. And this applies literally, you can take any niche, break it down into similar fashion and rework the steps, whether you have e-commerce, whether you have an informative affiliate site, whether you're writing for a product or service related stuff, right? Like we're using pontoon boats, which can be pretty much anything. It could be an e-commerce site. It could also be a manufacturer selling only a few boats or custom boats, right? Or it could be an affiliate site selling information about pontoon boats, right? So let's look at this. And this is a pontoon boat example. And I just put a brief description of what this manufacturer does. It's a high-end pontoon boat manufacturer that specializes in these two key areas, basically: luxury pontoon boats and speed pontoon boats. And the third one I added there was to suggest that this could also be one of the areas where you build topical authority. Even though it's not part of your core listing, it's one of the things that might drive the most amount of leads, or at least the qualified users, right? So I added that as well. So what you need to figure out, since you already figured out what you're going to be writing about, or what your site is going to be about, right, which is pontoon boats, now you need to figure out what are the core areas that aligns with what you do and pontoon, right? Like in conjunction with that. And what I listed is luxury, speed, pontoon. You can put fly fishing. You can put if you were an affiliate site and doing local marketing, like you could put renting, things like that, right? of nature and build authority around those areas. But this is your first step. Let's not even worry about how competitive a niche, because the niche that I'm about to show you has been written like 100 times over the past 10 decades. And still it's, relatively easier to get on those places without doing pretty much anything, but just keep consistently writing about that. So this is this, right? Now let's look at the second step. So now I have luxury pontoon boat and I have speed pontoon boat as an example here. And I quickly did this in SEMrush or Ahref. I found 68 keywords, around it. Yeah, let's not consider all the semantic terms and things like that. We'll get to that later. Like if you get into that, it's going to increase this so much, but we'll figure out a way to get all of these data while having just this. And the second one was speedboat, right? And it has 205 ideas. So you combine that too, you approximately have 300, and I add the third niche that we had for reviews, you approximately have 500 keywords or 500 keyword ideas from which you'd want to start picking out niche for, niche. I mean, picking out the right keywords to go and create content around, right? So what you do is first take this, find out the distinct ideas and start creating content around that. Go this, find the distinct ideas and go and create content around that. Like there's so many, and then you can eventually add more and more areas in your website. So I've just taken a quick snapshot of how this looks in outranking. But once you have those core distinct topics that you want to go after, what you want to choose, prioritize them. You could have so many reviews or reviews of fly fish pontoon board or Gold's free pontoon board, or there could be hundreds of other manufacturers, but they're not all your direct competitors, are they? Right? Like, that some might be producing those inflatable pontoon boats, and I don't care about those guys, right? So I don't want to create comparison with that, right? So what you want to choose is, selectively pick the keywords that you identified in the previous steps, 68 plus this, 300, 600, or whatever that comes to bigger, smaller niche affects that, right? But you want to pick out the keywords that are most important to your business use case first, right? I'm not saying you don't write awareness related keywords, you don't write informational keywords, you don't write all of these that brings traffic, but even without considering the mix, right? What your focus should be for you cater to your own business, to really kind of address this MOFU and BOFU keywords first. By doing that, you're bringing the right kind of traffic to your website who will eventually convert and give you that dollar, right? So you want to focus on that. And you want to start adding those to your planner. And then once you have that into your planner, you want to kind of identify, looking at the cluster for each of those distinct topics, what can I easily rank for? This matters to many people. And when you say, right, like I want to use golden keyword ratio, I want to use SEO compound strategy, I have my own proprietary method of finding the primary keywords, right? So be it. It's all good, right? But once you have the cluster and that you only need to pick one keyword, it's much easier to qualify them for whatever based qualification criteria that you've set for choosing this right keywords, right? And for me, when I'm picking it, I'm not looking at how competitive that term is, but what I'm really trying to see is whether can I cover that topic more comprehensively than anyone else. The entire topic cluster is what I'm talking about. And the second part is whether this will bring me qualified leads or not, right? Like that's the only two things I look at that keeps me in check with what's relevant, what will bring business impact. So here I chose, best family pontoon boat. You're going fly fishing or you're going, it's a luxury pontoon boat. You're not going to have luxury all yourself, right? Like say you want to target families and stuff like that. And this keeps switching, but yeah, so families and stuff, right? So for the cluster pontoon boat reviews, I picked my primary keyword as best family pontoon boat. And that's where I'm going to start creating content around. Okay. And yep, that's my cluster. That's my primary keyword that I picked. And let's go to the fifth step. The fifth step is it's literally executing on content calendar on each silo. So you might have picked out this, distinct 5 areas where you're creating content or building topical authority in. And you picked out all the keywords from, all of this key areas and created a content calendar. Don't execute based on this entire thing, because the more you write, the faster you write in one key area will define how fast you can actually rank for that one particular area. If you write for all the small areas that you're covering in, your efforts are distorted, right? So for Google to kind of put in place a check mark and say that you have covered one specific area in its entirety or as much ground as possible compared to your competitors, it needs to see all the content. And if that comes in bits and pieces, then it's going to take longer time for Google to figure this out as well, or any search crawlers to figure that out, right? So you want to focus your efforts on silo basis. So go one silo, plan the entire silo, execute the entire silo before you move on to the next one, unless your silos are like increasingly large, which we don't recommend. Your silos should be something that's manageable. What's manageable is anywhere from 5 to 50 topics, or 25 topics is what I look at, like nothing more than that. But that's manageable, right? Once you have that, you can start executing by silo. And the last step is just rise and repeat. You go through this again and again for each silo and start executing them. And we'll see some concrete examples of how this worked out for outranking as a next step. But let me get into those examples, and I'm sure you guys might have plenty more questions. So then I can go through each of these questions and I will explain everything before we even get into the demo. Okay, so I'm opening up this content strategy guide of Topical Authority, right? Like Topical Authority, come on. It's difficult to rank for, yet we rank for it with just a few topics created around that. But anyway, so like this is a case study for it. Let's look at this case study. And what I did was like just picked like a super generic topic. I just wanted to see if it is easy for me to rank for all types of writers or something staying close to writers, right? So types of write is what my silo was, literally, as dumb as it sounds, right? But look at this. Types of writers, copy writers, again, technical writing, there's PR writing, there's writer's job, tones of writing, opinion pieces, PR writing, right? Like types of editors. And there are 30 or 40 more blogs that are still coming up in that first or second pages, right? Okay, let's go second and look for blogging. And this was literally like blogging has been written over like what, 1 million times on the web, right? But what I wanted to see, if I cover more and more around blogging related to topics, like just blogging, what would really happen? So we created pet blogging for lawyers, how to add affiliate links to your blog. But that was also affiliate blogging. That is the primary keyword around it. And you can see that it starts like picking up quite fast, and it starts kind of ranking very fast. What we did was we created all of these topics one by one. We did not jump through other topics. We kept writing about, if we were writing about types of write, then we'll just keep writing that. If you're writing about blogging, we'll just keep writing about blogging till we have everything in. And this worked phenomenally. And this has worked again in previous companies that I was working with as well. This works every time. And it is not even a science. Use this strategy and you should be good for any small, big, large website that wants to create income. Okay, let's go look at the questions before I'll get into the demo. There are many questions over here. So Natalie, you want to go one by one, or should I start going through this?
Go ahead and
okay, so I'll go to the presentation just in case if someone has questions around that. The orange silo, go ahead.
The orange silos, maybe if you open up that slide one, is made by one big blog post and then a bunch of smaller blog posts linking to the big post.
Yeah, so you're talking about internal linking, right? Like, so internal linking can significantly improve the structure, and I'll show you an example of that as well. So let's look at this, right? Now, look at a couple of pieces which are ranking at number 1. Opinion writing, right? And this is ranking at number 3. Now we have 7, we have 8, and there are many which are in 10 to 15, right? What the main objective of your internal linking is, and we did not do any internal linking. Okay, this is no internal linking at all. We literally implemented internal linking as second phase of doing a case study for internal linking. So that will come in later, but this is without even internal linking. Like, we went and optimized this later on, but without internal linking, what you see is, like, let's say this opinion piece is ranking at 1 and 3. They're bound to have more page rank over the period of time. Why? More people will link to it, because when they're searching for it, your resources will come up and you'll get more backlinks to that particular page. Because it's also ranking, tons of people are clicking on it, which also suggests how important a particular page is, and part of that the ranking factor or PA, right? So what happens is, since these pages have great or at least higher page rank than my other ranking pages, if I give an internal link from those better ranking pages to poor ranking pages, it will immediately start transferring a percentage of their page rank to those pages which are ranking poorly, suggesting Google or PageRank algorithm that this page is more important than previously noted. And that is why it will start climbing up in ranking as well. That's the entire fundamental behind internal linking. And as as savvy as you might want to be, and as strict as you want to be in following a particular silo method where you cross-link it, where you give 2 links out, 3 links out, it's extremely difficult to do this on an established website where you already have tons of content. On a brand new website, you can be this strategic, but it's just probably impossible when you are working in a very extensive team environment and you want to consistently get this internal links from other pages, creating tickets around it, and facilitating this process can be very difficult, right? So what I would suggest is pick a course of action and stick to it. Give internal links to pages that need help, but doing this strategy obviously helps, right? So what you'd want to do is link each of these pages to one another, but also give a link back. So everything that has been passed is also being get in the process, right? And as one page elevates, right, it will elevate all the other pages in that particular silo.
Hopefully. And how do you actually interlink those related articles? Maybe you can show in Outranking.
So that's what I said, like we literally started optimizing for internal linkings later on. But because we wanted to conclude this as a separate part of the experiment, right? And I will show you how you can do this in Outranking as part of the software. It can suggest you which internal links to bring that will help you rank better for a particular topic using Strategist.
So how do we determine that what content to include in the main article and what content to include in the supporting pages that link back to the main article?
Okay, that requires me the demo. And when I do the demo, I'll show that using Outrank. Okay, all right. So let me show that as well. How do you determine the content included in the main article and what content should be included in the supporting pages, right? Well, there is no, what do you call? Well, there is one formula to it. This is what I wanted to say. And that is SERP analysis. Why don't you let SERP analysis sort of dictate what goes into your main article versus your supporting pages, right? Your main articles are usually, and you can pick this pretty much any node, right? Like out of the entire topic selection in a particular silo, you can qualify anyone as the main topic. But my main topic is not a science or something that you can just qualify and say, hey, you know what? This is the pillar page. I want to do this. The reason why it will not work is because most pillar pages are informational. You're giving all your links to pillar pages. What will happen? Yeah, sure, it will drive tons and tons of traffic, but guess what? It will also drive 0 leads. So your centerpieces, and usually this is my strategy. Many have different strategies, but my strategy is that centerpiece to be the one that converts the best. So not only it ranks for more keyword, but it is firm sitting where I will get business impact. So for example, right, like SEO outlines. There are 7 or 8 topics that we wrote around SEO outlines, right? But SEO outline being the primary key, the main keyword, which fundamentally covers a lot of things, right? Like it covers briefs and things like that, right? It might bring me audience which is willing to learn SEO outlines, but an SEO outline software page would bring me more qualified leads, right? So I'd want to rank higher for SEO, what do you call the software related term, than compared to my awareness related post, right? And it would function better, right? So what I suggest is, right, like, don't think of this and complicate it in terms of, hey, I need to cover 20 topics over here to qualify it as a pillar page so I can internal link them all and do this again and again. Don't use an exact science. If you try to use this, you will never get things done. But instead, what I recommend is link the silos sensibly and try and link the page which is most important to you more frequently than the others, making it the centerpiece.
Are you adding pages to support the silo? When you're adding the pages to support the silo, are you creating them as a standalone page or as a blog?
As a standalone page or a blog, they both essentially mean the same thing. It could be a service page, product page. It could be a blog post, which is informational. It could be a comparison post, an alternative. It could be many things, but they're all essentially a web page. So every distinct topic in a silo is actually one page.
Cool. Which clusters to go after first for a brand new website?
Let's look at that. Right. So I have this example ready for Godfrey pontoon boats, right? And I sort of created the areas of key focus for me. And I've not done the full job of adding everything to the planner. There's many things that I can add in the last two, but I just quickly went through them. I don't really know all the manufacturers in the same area. So, if you're considering this as a brand new website, what you want to do is, well, even a brand new website has an objective. If they sell pontoon boats, they sell pontoon boats. There's not much you can do but write about pontoon boats, right? So what I look at, and what you should look at as well, instead of finding what will rank faster, what you should be finding first is what your key areas are. What will bring you the kind of objective that you have set for creating that website in the first place, right? So what I chose was things which will bring me business impact, right? But if yours was an ad-driven website and you're just bringing ad revenue, then you could write as much informational content as you want, right? So you can start with something more broader and say pontoon boat tools. You could say pontoon boat, I don't know, fishing caps. Like it just, the universe is very big. Don't limit yourself from looking at these possibilities. What you do need to look at in terms of ranking for a brand new website is after you have picked your silos, you can go inside. You have picked out all your distinct topics and you've added them, the ones that matter to you the most. That's when you find out which keywords you can easily rank for this particular objective. So let's look at this. It has 71 cluster size. It has 71 keywords, which I can potentially rank for by just creating one particular page, right? So what we've looked at is for pontoon boat lights layout, how many keywords you can essentially rank for based on the ranking data. And what we've done is collected all of these over here, right? So now you start looking over here and identify the keywords which you could easily rank for. So use golden keyword ratio, use compound strategy, which we already provide, but you can use any strategy that you have in picking the keyword that you can easily rank for. Usually, if you are going by, let's say, for example, golden strategy or golden ratio, this would be a no-no. So let's go and look at this. Okay, let's look at this, and you will see like I have 479 results for it, right? That is still not bad at all, actually. But as we go down and we look at navigational light for Salesport, maybe, and this is an example purely, I don't know what the objective is for creating this content, but if this was it, you might find quite lesser, right? So you only found 5 results. So what's going to be easier for you to rank for? This, right? That's when you start picking out keywords, which are still extremely relevant to the kind of traffic that you want to bring, but are targeting the terms which are easier to rank for. This makes it very easy for you in future when your site grows. Your ranking capacity based on the compound strategy automatically increases. You have covered so many grounds. What happens then? Then you will start ranking for, you have better potential for ranking for some of these terms too. So then you can make those small optimization changes on your page and target more broader terms that rank for more keywords. And sometimes even that is not needed. We'll cover that maybe in the next session, how to use internal linking strategy to rank for all of these keywords using one page. But we'll cover this in the later section because it's a very in-depth topic.
All right. What are your thoughts on creating supporting pages of like 300 to 500 words that are just answering one? People also ask questions.
Bad idea. Long-term sustainability, bad idea. Short-term tricking algorithms, great idea. That's what I would think. A standalone people also ask question doesn't have any supporting detail. So if someone clicks on that particular page, they'll not find any other details. What will happen then? They'll bounce. This happens a few times, and what will happen then? Your page gets deranked, right? Like, so go based on the user experience. If you were to, ask me, I would say no, don't do that. is a people also or FAQ schema markup kind of question, which is short, brief, and provides only precise value. We've seen many cases where someone was ranking for featured snippets for the spa questions and things like that, but that page did not really have much supporting details. It was so easy for us to outrank them and get that featured snippet just because they didn't have any supporting details to it. So this happens again and again, and it's not an advised tactic. But again, if you are creating like 10,000 pages like this every day, then there is some sustainability to it. But don't do this, overdo this. You can do it for some shallow silos, which doesn't really have that niche information, right? And but all you have is people also ask questions, then I would do it, because then there's actually no better content out there than what you're creating. In that case, your longevity will increase. But besides that, it's not a given tactic that you should be using.
Good. Specific example from Kevin. I just wrote an article on durable Medicare equipment. Should I then write about all of the different products, or how should I tackle this for ranking?
Oh, great question, right? So you just wrote equipments, maybe you wrote Medicare equipments covered by Medicare. Okay, so you wrote Medicare equipments and people might be searching for medical equipments, I don't know, like for a cardiologist or for some other guy. So you could create a part of your cluster, but ensure that the silo that you are creating has some of the terms are common in them, right? Like that's the entire part about creating smaller, concise groups where you keep writing about that group again and again. So here in this silo, I have picked, let's say for three particular topics, right? So I'm writing about layouts in all of them. That's what qualifies as being considered in one of the silos, at least from the experiments that we've done.
Are you doing interlinking between the subtopics only, or also subtopics and pillar topic?
So, can you ask that question again?
Are you doing the interlinking just between the subtopics, or subtopics and pillar topic?
So I'm doing, like, that's what I mentioned very first. I'm doing internal linking based on how important a particular page is and where it's best suited in the journey of a user. But I try to stay in the silo as much as I can for the regular types of links that I want to circulate. But my main links or CTAs on those pages tend to go to pages which are not only relevant, but second part of the user journey, as well as the most important pages which I want to rank for and sustain the ranking for. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. Try to get the entire circle done, and pass links back and forth between each pages will get you covered a long way. But your intensive focus should be, if for long-term business objective, should be to pass this authority onto more important pages. It could be cross silo, it could be within silos, whatever that is, but to the most important pages.
I think we've covered the majority of the questions here.
If I can ask a quick question, can you talk a little bit about if there's a difference on how you think about keyword strategy and clustering, and looking at the difference between if somebody has, say, a SaaS or e-commerce product versus building an affiliate or content site that generates income from ad revenue?
Absolutely, right? So let's look at this. Actually, let me see if I have a silo, and maybe I should have put in a silo. Okay, so this might have a few. Let's look at this. So let's say I was building out an affiliate website where I'm looking at ad revenue. So what matters to me the most is traffic. I want more people on my site, and obviously I want better rankings, but I want more people on my site, right? So now I start looking at this. I don't have inflatable pontoon board manufacturers. We're looking at this from an affiliate point of view. So I can write about fishing boats. This is informational. I can write about inflatable pontoon boats. This is again an affiliate type of a product, right? Pontoon boats for fishing. You can talk about inflatable type and blah, blah, blah. So you can consider this as an affiliate website. And very well that might be, right? Like this is what I've seen most affiliate websites do, is if you are trying to write about air fryer, you're covering as much ground on air fryer as possible. So you're going with a 450 Fahrenheit one, or 400 Fahrenheit one, or I don't know, rolling dish, or I don't know, like there could be many silos around that, right? And you can start using that. But the tactic remains still the same. The only thing changes is the kind of keywords that you go after. You go after now more broader terms, more top of the funnel terms, where traffic potential is a lot larger without caring much about the specific journey of the user where they are. Yet you'd come across some of these things which are much more user journey oriented, but will convert into maybe ad revenue from a publisher that's selling fishing boat, or you can even do affiliate marketing with this, right? So yes, absolutely, you can use this tactic to do this, but instead of targeting more specific terms which are important to your business, you want to target broader terms which bring more traffic and hence more ad revenue. Does that make sense, Clemen?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Any other question, guys? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question or drop it in the chat over there. There's lots of people here, and you are all creating either websites or creating strategy for an existing website or your client. Is there any specific challenge that you face while building out a model for them to execute? This sort of the way we pictured this, right? Like we wanted to establish our own website using this product. So we built it around that, but you can see this, it's very easy to structure. You kind of know where things are and what you should be executing on priority level. Besides, before moving on to the next one, this keeps you very objective oriented. You can show your clients or whoever is the key stakeholders why you have picked out the keywords. The strategy would make sense to them, and it keeps you in objective and bringing the right revenue. Right kind of people instead. But in terms of, let's quickly understand like how you can create the silo strategies, right? You can add the main keyword, use extensive, include, exclude if you want to be a little more specific. So while writing pontoon boat reviews, if there were a few providers that you don't really care about or are not your direct competitors, you can use those exclude or include keywords in them specifically and target that set of keywords as well only. So this will help you reduce the amount you have to pay for topic cluster creation. If this doesn't work for you, you can still do Href or SEMrush import, and you can download the sheet. It's just download and import. Like you don't need to make any modifications to the sheets that you download from Href or SEM. But if you do your topical research over there, you collect tons of data in one particular keyword group, you can export that out and then create a silo around that as well. But keep your silo small. Extensively huge silos are extremely difficult to manage, as well as they target a very broad term, right? So building up to that authority will take you a lot more time, and it's not majorly objective driven. Keep it small. That works usually the best.
I think we covered majority of the questions that have been posted recently. If your question was not answered, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes, I had a question on the silos. Since there's different ways to set up silos, including reverse silos, what specific silo structure do you recommend, and can you illustrate that? So
reverse silo. So this is fairly new. Like I'd be very honest with you. Reverse silo is something the first time I'm hearing. What I have known all my life is silos, and this tends to be maybe because trying to keep it simple, executing super complicated strategy not only complicates a lot of things. So my mind is diverted towards that. But what we qualify as a silo is driven entirely by business objective. If a silo suggestion is something around layout, and your websites doesn't, or your pontoon boats have nothing to do with layout, writing about that isn't going to help, right? So it isn't going to help, right? So keep it simple. Your silos are the core areas of focus that is the most important for your business objective. That's it. Simple as that, right? And if that means speed, fly fishing, pontoon, or just doing review on an affiliate site, so might be it. What we do recommend is executing. The only recommendation that we suggest you follow concretely is executing based on silo. Create all the topics that you would want to for this particular silo before you move and focus your energy on the second one. This tends to work a lot faster. This will take double the time in ranking both of these versus this will rank in half the time and this will rank in the remaining half the time. This was more focused and better served.
All right, I had another question. For internal links, do you recommend the plugin Link Whisper for internal linking, or can you get the same benefit for internal linking purposes just using outranking?
So you can get internal linking suggestions. So Link Whisper is for mass internal linking in your WordPress applications, right? And it's a great tool. And if you have found peace with that, like use it for it. For outranking, it's slightly different. And the way they suggest is entirely different, and we not go in through that. But let's go ahead and look at one of the pages where you can optimize for internal linking. Let me see. Okay, I see your team. Okay, so when we are, okay, this is not the current page. Okay, all right. So the way outranking is suggesting internal links is what we want to, like, what is the main objective of your internal linking, right? We want you to help the content rank for as many terms as possible using that one content piece that you're writing that targeting the one primary keyword, right? That should be the main objective. Forget everything else, whether it's passing the right juice to the right page or not. That's all secondary, and you can run this anyway in tandem. But your main objective should be, like, if I am trying to rank for SEO content brief, my goal should be to rank for as many keywords listed here as possible, right? Like, I would not care for this. We're already ranking at number 1, but I want to rank for all of these 3 keywords. Now, how do I achieve that? The only way I can achieve that is if I give links to this particular page, whichever that is for SEO content brief, that tells Google that what I'm about to find in this particular page is this. So your anchor text should include this keyword. Simple as that, right? So what we do is, like, let's say if you have hundreds of keywords, we'll identify the common topics which will include most of these phrases and suggest you anchor text and the most relevant links that are on your website based on semantic search that you can link from. And if you use that, you will essentially pass the most amount of benefit to this particular page because they are ranked based on page rank, right? So high to low. If you just go from high to low and identify the relevant pages to add to that particular page, your page will rank for all of these keywords. So that's the basic fundamental basis behind it. And this is a little bit of manual process, right? So this works great in enterprise use case or agency use case where you want to pass on the optimization briefs to someone, to the publisher who is, either internal or external, and you don't have control over their WordPress, or they have something as Gatsby, or they're using Wix or some other platform, right? Like, then it becomes extremely difficult, right? So what you can do is use this tactic to carefully do internal linking. And this is very strategy based. So you have to pick and choose which keyword you want to optimize and then go after that. Versus Link Whisper can do this, can do some internal linking based on their different strategy in WordPress in masses, right? Like very, very easily. So it's very different approaches and different use cases. But if you have WordPress, go for it.
I think that's about it.
Okay, all right, I'll look through this particular link later on. Thank you for that. And that's about it, right? Okay.
No other question? Sounds good. This has been posted in the group already as a Facebook Live. Go ahead and check it out. Any questions, let us know. Next Thursday, we're also going to have another session. So we're running this every single week. So come back and check out every week.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
Bye, guys.